Let me start. My name is Badal Pokhrel. As you can see, I'm a third year PhD student at School of Civil and Environmental Engineering, University of New South Wales, Australia. And this is the work from me and my supervisors, Massimiliano Alveoli and Samsung Lim. Before jumping into the subject matter, let me talk about my title. It's relevance of morphometric predictors and completeness of inventories in earthquake-induced landslide susceptibility. So before jumping into the content, I just want to give a short background, kind of blast from the past, like what I'm doing, why I'm doing. So the main purpose of this is that on 25th of April 2015, Nepal, which is a country that lies between India and China, suffered from a disastrous earthquake of 7.8 magnitude. This main shock was followed by many aftershocks, and the highest aftershock was 7.3 on 12th May 2015. There were many reports, and nearly 25,000 landslides were almost like delineated in this central Nepal Himalayan belt. There are 77 districts in Nepal, out of which 14 districts was highly affected. So these are some of the pictures that I took in field. By the grace of God, I'm alive. Like it was really, really bad. So just showing you the couple of clips. So now what this paper, or what my motive is that, so when we generally talk about landslides, we are looking at the technical part, but ultimately our goal is landslide risk management. And my main objective is landslide susceptibility in this paper. Landslide susceptibility is just likelihood of occurrence of landslide given a particular set of predictive factors, or you can say causality parameters. When we include the time frame and magnitude with susceptibility, we get hazard, and that's how we deal with risk management. There are many papers, many inventories prepared by different authors. Many of us talked about landslide susceptibility mapping, but what we lacked was, are these susceptibility maps efficient enough or not? Or are these inventories complete enough or not? Or are these significant factors that we talk about, for example, are the morphometric factors that we talk about while we are making landslide susceptibility significant enough or not? Like what is going behind that? So keeping that in mind, this is the methodological framework that we applied in our paper. The first thing is we collected 5 different landslide inventories prepared for this event of the earthquake in Nepal by 5 different research teams, and following the similar manual mapping techniques. That was the first thing. Second thing, what we did was we followed the algorithm developed by Alveoli 2016 and the optimization that was done in 2020. There are 2 good papers out there. So we followed this and we optimized slope units, and we characterized each of these slope units with presence or absence of landslides for different inventories. And then we also selected some morphometric factors like topographic wetness index. We have been talking about this all the time during this conference, like vector ruggedness index, relief, landform classes, curvatures. And then we input this parameter within the slope unit for 5 different inventories. We run some test called chi-square test within logistic regression model, and then obtain p-values. We did several iterations, and finally we plotted landslide susceptibility maps and then compare it. So this is just a generalized overview, but I'm going into it one by one. So this is the extent of inventories. So these 5 inventories in overall covers this extent, as you can see here. This is the main shock, and this is the aftershock. So these are the 5 published inventories, which are really, really inconsistent, I would say, because of the different mapping objective of the authors. So what we did was, for all of these inventories, we took overlapping area, and we did some analysis within the overlapping area, as well as we did some separate analysis for the 3 bigger inventories, which is A, B, and C, like this one, and this one. And then we got some results. So that is what I'm trying to show here. Let's talk about the overlapping region first. So this is the overlapping region, and then these are the slope unit within the overlapping region. So very simple, we are looking at the number of landslides, number of stable or unstable slope units. Those slope units which do not have landslide are unstable, and then those which have, are stable, and then those which has landslides are unstable. So we are looking at some areas and stuff here. And this is the overall slope unit that was plotted, which is just to show. And then we input this presence or absence here. And then we also did the slope, like for each of these parameters, we characterize its slope units. Within GraphGIS module, we took both mean and standard deviation for each of the parameters. And then the main objective, I'd say main goal, one of the goal within this paper was to see how the independent parameters, are significant for each inventories given this similar analysis. So what we did is we trained the logistic regression model. First, we checked for the smallest number between stable and unstable unstable slope units among all the inventories. For example, in our case, for inventory, sorry, there are some messages. Is it? Oh, sorry, I'm just distracted by this, sorry. So for all of these inventories, for the inventory E, there are 74 unstable slope unit, which was smallest. So what we did was we took 75 of these 74 unstable slope unit and equal number of stable slope units within 20 iteration. And then we implemented generalized linear model and for 20 times, which means we have 20 set of data and 20 set of p-values. So now what we can see is that when we plotted these significant, p-values for each inventory, we can see the differences. As you can see very clearly, for the slope mean, it's almost like less than 0.05, and it's almost like significant for most of the inventories. But when I go to the RIS, which is one of the classes within the landform, it's varying. Like for inventory B, it's not even like significant. It's not below 0.05. But for inventory A, it's below 0.05, right? Also, we can take example of the slope deviation, slope standard deviation. For inventory A, it's way above 0.05. The dotted line is 0.05. But for some of them, it's below that. So we can see how this same, like for the same event, for the same predictive parameters, how the significance varies. So there's a question: are we doing the right thing, or are we lacking somewhere, kind of thing? How efficient our landslide map susceptibility maps are. So that was one part of analysis. Second part of analysis was we also did pairwise validation. So we took like 70% of like landslide from one inventory and validated with the rest of the 30% from the different inventory. So we can see that it's not much varying, but for the inventory D, it's quite low in the value, because inventory D and E are the inventories with least number of landslides. Inventory C was the inventory C was like had the greatest number of landslide, but we can see that it has 0.74. A ROC, a receiver operating curve value, plus minus 0.03, which is deviation. So this is also not that justifying results or whatever. We are quite confused about this. It shows that landslide susceptibility mapping is kind of subjective here. The next thing we did was we checked the performance of landslide susceptibility map using AUC, which is area under curve, for different kind of sampling techniques, because we are also looking at how sampling techniques and within the certain morphometric variable can influence the landslide susceptibility mapping. So when you see the colored boxes, it is the 70% of stable or unstable slope unit as training. So we can see that for inventory A, we have got the highest value, right? Also, I have to mention again that inventory C is the one with the highest number of landslide, and inventory is the lowest. But we can see that inventory A has the highest performance results. So that is not even like it doesn't even mean that with greater number of landslide you may have greater efficiency. So that doesn't fit there. So when we see at the gray part, gray is the smallest stable or unstable as training. When we see that, again, inventory A has the highest number. And when we see the dotted part, inventory E, which is the smallest of all the inventories, has the highest performance result. So dotted one is we take all the landslide as the training sample. We do not sample it as 70 or 30. So this is how inconsistent our results were. Anyway, that is a part of science. So let's go to the susceptibility map. Inventories, as I mentioned, that inventories D and E had like really small number of landslide as compared to others. So we did not do landslide susceptibility mapping for the overlapping area. Rather, we took 3 bigger inventories which had similar extent, and then we plotted landslide susceptibility mapping. So this is the results. We use logistic regression, as I mentioned before, and we use Landsat software, which was developed by Rossi and, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that, batch 2016. I'm really sorry for that. So it shows that for the inventory A, which has least number of landslide as compared to B and C, has mean of 0.13. As also you can see that the high landslide risk area is not much as compared to B and C. So it means that although inventory A had pretty good efficient like performance result, but when we see in landslide susceptibility map, maybe it's missing out some areas that were like actually in the risks or high susceptibility zone. Why? Because first thing, the number of landslide is least among A, B, C, as I mentioned before. So maybe that was not a complete there is no any standard criteria that says this is the complete inventory, but comparatively, maybe it had like, missing landslides. So that might be one reason, right? Second reason was, which I have not mentioned in the previous slides, inventory A was prepared by that research team, which were looking around the landslide along the fault zone, which is, you can find the papers, it's by Zhang et al. They were looking at the characteristics of Kosi Basin in Nepal. So what we see that when we are focused on certain objective, or when we are making objective based landslide inventories, maybe our results are different. Although we do not see more risk areas, if we only take the central belt, maybe this result would be fine. But when we take the larger region, and when we are like generalizing the things, when we are not classifying landslide is either debris flow or landslide is rock or whatever, we get different results. So this is one kind of analysis we made here. Also, we can see that inventory C has like mean landslide susceptibility of 0.05, but the deviation in B is higher. So again, this is something, out of the league. So what's the conclusion of this is that the first thing first, as we see that although all the researchers did the same thing for the same event, I mean, they obviously took the different landslides, satellite images, but the reliability and interpretation of landslide susceptibility map is difficult thing, and especially for if there are differences in the significance of the predictors. Although like slope might not be significant for one, but we know that slope is one of the most important parameters for landslide. It's positive factor, right? So we are somewhere, lost between quantitative and descriptive analysis. Maybe that's the part we should look into for our further research. The second thing is that the value of performance that we always do in very traditional way, area under curve, it's also influenced by the sampling techniques. It's also influenced by the maybe slope units, because we are not using digital elevation model. So that's the next thing. And third thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, landslide inventory preparation is subjective process. We do not have certain standardized criteria. So maybe we should be more focused on classifying the type of landslide making inventories or objective based inventories, and so that our results are more efficient. So what is the purpose of doing this? Why am I doing this science or learning this? Because ultimately I want to contribute to the society, right? Nepal is a developing country. Himalayan belt is a developing country. The results from our geomorphometric perspective or landslide susceptibility perspective will be fruitful for the further analysis of hazard and disaster management. For example, the slope unit that we plotted, that we delineated, would be available within this website. We can download this and do our further hazard analysis. Next thing is, this is very ambitious, just thought to mention it, that we have submitted this paper with more other analysis, and it's just one step away from the publishing it in online. So hopefully I'll be there soon. Thank you so much. And that's my picture near the Mount Everest Base Camp. And welcome to, we are all here, welcome there after pandemic.